Hello, it's Teresa here. I hope you're all keeping well and you're all safe. Things are getting better very slowly, aren't they? So fingers crossed, and hopefully in a couple of weeks' time the world will look a bit safer and a bit calmer. Thank you for all your lovely comments, and welcome to all our new subscribers as well. I'm sorry I don't know you all by name. At one time I might get a list of your names and I could welcome you all by name, but now it seems that I'm not getting that list, so I don't know who's new anymore. But a big welcome to you all anyway. We're going to do a Japanese knot bag. Now these bags are very, very fashionable at the moment. They're also very, very easy to make. As you can imagine, the most time consuming part of making this particular one is all this slow stitch or Sashiko. Now there's a very fine line between the slow stitch and the Sashiko. I'm inclined to feel this is actually Sashiko because it's evenly spaced, the stitches aren't touching, and the gaps between the stitches are basically half the size of a stitch, which in true Sashiko terms is the measurement. The measurement of the gap should be half the size of the stitch. Now I'm looking around here for my needle. This was actually worked. Oh, I can't find it. Oh, goodness, I had it a minute ago. This was actually worked with a Sashiko needle. Now you don't have to do that. We've all done slow stitch. We all do slow stitch, and we use a regular needle. With Sashiko, the needle is longer. It's about 2 to 3 inches long, and when you work Sashiko, you push the thread onto the needle. So you don't make the needle work, you make the fabric work, and you push the fabric onto the needle. And it's nice because the needle is long enough to push lots and lots of fabric on, and you pull it through, and you've done a row. Now when you do this, always leave a thread at the back for your tension. Now it doesn't matter if you don't, but we're not used to doing this for slow stitch. But Sashiko, you leave a thread at the back, and that is your tension, so you can keep pulling it and it doesn't get too tight. There are rules. Stitches don't touch and they don't cross over. So you can go underneath in a pattern, but you don't touch them. So because all those rules have been applied here, I think, apart from the cross stitch which I put on at the end, this is very much like Sashiko. Without trying, it seems to have turned into Sashiko. So that is what I think I'm going to call it. Now I added the cross stitch right at the end. As you know, I love to add net. I resisted that. I love to have vegetable bags. I resisted that, but I couldn't resist the surface stitchery. So there we are, a Japanese knot bag. Now that is the back, and it's fully lined, which makes it reversible. So this is actually reversible. Now why is it called a knot bag, and why is one of the handles here longer than the other? Well, that's easy. This is why it's a knot bag. The long handle comes through the short one and forms a knot, and there we are. That is your Japanese knot bag. Okay, so this is what we are going to be making. Or not. You might not want to make a bag like this, but you might want to do this. Okay, I'm a bit unsure about what to call it, slow stitch or Sashiko, but I really do think that is a Sashiko. So there we go, our knot bag. So I'm going to crack on. Let me see if I've covered everything. Yes, yeah, I think I've covered everything that I've got just noted down there. So we will start this by making a pattern, a very, very basic pattern with very little measuring, and it's really easy to do. So don't feel daunted by making the pattern. It's not daunting at all. Now the actual bag size, just before I finish, is approximately, depending on how wide you're going to make your seam allowances, is approximately 15 inches long by about 11 inches wide. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Is that 12 or 11? Yeah, approximate sizes. So anyway, on that note, we'll crack on and have a good time. Most of all, enjoy it. Grab your coffee, your notebook, whatever, and we will have a good time doing this. Okay? Now I think the easiest way to make a pattern for your bag is just to do it like this, and it's really simple. I've cut a rectangle of measuring 12.5 inches by 16.5 inches, and I just cut it out of greetings paper. That's actually Christmas wrapping paper, so don't go to any expense. Okay, so 12.5 by 16, and then I'm going to fold it into 4. So in half one way and crease it, then in half the other way and crease it. Okay, and just make a mark in the center just to let us know that this is the center. So I'm just going to put a little star there, so we know now top, bottom, center. Okay, and measure 4 inches from this side. Now that side will be your left, so on the left side you're going to measure 4 inches and mark it. So that is 4 inches, and then over this side we're going to measure another 4 inches. It's going to be 4 inches from this end, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have 4 inches from that end, that's 4 inches, and that's 4 inches. I'll just put 4 inches there and 4 inches there. Okay, no, I hope that screen's okay, it keeps going blurry. We're going to mark another 4 inches down this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4 inches there. Okay, and we're going to draw a line going through the center. So just a bit of a broken line here. All right, and that's halfway. We'll label these now. A, B, C, and D. Okay, so now we're going to go back to this side here, and from, where's my red, we're now going to go over and find the 4 inches there, and we're going to join them. So the 4 inches there and the 4 inches there, so these will be about there, but I will measure that just to make sure. So that will be 10 centimeters on this ruler. Let's have a look. 10. So yeah, that's right there. We know that one's right. So just going to mark those lightly. I don't want that bit there. And we're going to bring this across here. Okay, so you now have a little square here. which I may or may not use. Now with a pen or a pencil, we're going to join up, we're going to slightly curve a line from this point here, there, to this point here. Okay, and we're going through the center, so you need to gently curve it round here, and you might need to do it a couple of times till you get it right. So just a nice curve around there and then up to here. Oh, this is awkward doing it this way. So around here, if I take it round there, got to meet it. You want a curve, nice curve around there. I might have to do this, go over it when I turn it round to face me. Oh, or maybe not. So you see that now, you have a nice curve there. So you're going up there, and then you're going to go across here. Alright. Now at this point, you can get rid of this bit, because this now will just get on your nerves, and then you might be able to see it taking shape. So just cut that bit out there. Okay. Now this is taking shape already. Now you can also now cut this out, and as you do this, right, you're going to curve it round here. Oh, I'm doing this back to front now. Oh goodness. Right, so you're going to curve that up there. Lovely. And this is going to be the makings of your pattern. So this will be the long handle, and this will be the short handle. Now the only thing you need to do now is to trim it round here, so you get a nice curve. Right, now you can actually as well fold that down there, and then to get a nice curve here, I'm just going to bring it round there and then up here. Okay, and now we've got we'll have a nice symmetrical curve there. That's it. Nice. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's better. So there we are, and that is still 4 inches because I didn't trim any from there, and that is still 4 inches. So once again, I'm just going to fold that now, like so, there. And I'm going to curve off the ends. Now the easiest way to do this, fold it over, and you want a nice curve there. So what have I got here that's curvy? Oh, I've got this. Just curve round that, round part. I mean, you don't have to do it this way. You might be able to do that freehand. Can't really see what I'm doing at the moment. You could do that freehand, I expect. And then keep them together and just round you go. And now you know they're the same either side. And that is your pattern. Okay, so there we are. That is the pattern that you need for your Japanese knot bag. Now from here, I'm going to cut out some interfacing and find my rag bag of pieces so we can start the patchwork. So what I've done now is to draw around the paper template, drawn around it on iron-on interfacing. If I hold it like that, you can see these sticky bits just shining here. With the sticky bits, the shiny bit up, I'm now going to start my patchwork, and I'm going to start putting these down without much thought actually. I'm just going to stick them down on this interfacing. Now I've kept this the pattern this way towards me, because if I turn it round, I'm not going to get it on. Okay, or am I? No, I suppose I could do it that way. Yeah, I'll do it that way so you can see what I'm doing. So all I'm going to do now is put the fabric patches down here so that I can iron them in place in a couple of minutes. Now I particularly like this, and I think this is really lovely. It's velvet here, velvet on net or tulle. And I want that sort of in the middle. Now apart from that one, I'm just going to randomly place them within the line, within the pencil line I should say. So I'm going to pop that there. There. So that's done. That only took a few minutes. I'm not sure about that little piece there. I think I'm going to have to take that off because I don't like it, and just cover that up with maybe something like that. What's this? Oh, maybe that. Well, maybe that might be better. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now as you can see that I have gone over the pencil line all the way around, except up here actually, so I do need to go over that, otherwise it might weaken it there. So I'm going to put that there. I think that'll be fine now. And why I've gone over it, over the line, oops, another bit there, right. Why I've gone over the line is that after I have sewn it, that is when I will trim it. So first of all now I'm going to press it, I'm going to attach it on here, iron it, and then I will tack it around the edge. Depending on how tightly it's stuck to the interfacing, I will either tack it or clip it like we usually do, just clip the pieces, or I'll leave it. But I have a feeling, because there's quite a lot of overlapping going on, that I will possibly have to tack it. So I'm just going off now to press this, and then I'll decide whether it needs tacking or not. So I did press it in place, and some of them did stick. The finer ones like this and this, some down here as well, they stuck in places, but the heavier fabrics like this one didn't. So I've decided to very carefully, see that one stuck because it's a finer one, I'm going to stick a pin in each piece, and I will tack it before sewing. So as soon as I've pinned each little piece, just to hold it, the iron actually pulled some of them off, so I'm not sure if they're in the same place they were a couple of minutes ago. But anyway, I'm now going to pin that, and then I'll tack it down in position, and I'll get back as soon as it's tacked down, and it will be ready to stitch. So I'll just carry on for a few minutes. So here it is, all tacked down or basted down. Each piece has been tacked down in rows again. There is the template, and as you can see that there will be some trimming that's needed later on. I put it this way so you can see it all. If I turn it the other way you won't see it. So I'm quite pleased with that. Now after I did that, it seemed very flimsy, and I thought it's too flimsy to work with just the interfacing and the pieces. So I actually backed it with some calico. You can see that it's the same size as the template there. So that is why it hasn't been tacked all the way through. I did this as an afterthought. I didn't think I needed to do that because it's going to be have a lining, but yeah, I got that wrong. I really did get that wrong. So it did need the calico, for strength. Otherwise, although this is heavy duty, this is a heavy one, that's why I thought it wouldn't be needed. I would have automatically used calico on the fine one, but this is heavy, so it's very thick, as you can tell. But no, it needed the calico, so that's in place, and I'm very pleased about that. Next thing to do is to start sewing it. So I should do this, I'm not sure yet what colour I'm going to do it in, if I'm just going to use one colour and do it in lines. Yeah, I think I might do actually. I'm just going to put it to one side just for half an hour or so, just to give me time to look at it and sort out what colour I need. I like the red actually. I do like red, but I don't know how that will work on here. I'm not sure whether I might do some lines across or do them all down this time. On the last Japanese knot bag I did some going across, and that looked quite nice and that worked quite well. I don't know whether to just do lines going down. So anyway, I will give it half an hour or so, and that'll give me time to think and work out what I think might be best for it. So I've sorted out some of these laces from the rag bag, and I think I might put some lace on the top. Look at this bling, isn't it gorgeous? Now I took this off the edge of a scarf that I got from a charity shop, and I've placed some of it down here, as you can see there. And I like the look of that. I've put it in a couple of areas, and I just think it adds something to the patchwork. It did look, I thought it looked a bit plain and a little bit flat, so I think that has just added something. These flowers here with the gold stems come from this piece of fabric, and it is really beautiful. I think we've worked with it before, and I only had a very tiny bit of this, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually cut round these flowers, and I'm going to put the flowers down on the surface of the patchwork as a applique. I just need to trim right the way around these first. I'm not sure how many to use because these are quite stunning, and I don't think I need more than one or two. Yeah, it looks quite nice there, doesn't it? Not sure where to put that, whether that's too close to the bottom, or maybe I should move that up just a little bit. I think I'm just going to make this smaller so you can see, but I'm not sure if that's too close to the red flower at the moment, and maybe it could go up here, but then it's a bit near that gold flower there, isn't it? I like the gold flower there, and I really want to use this one, but no, I don't like it there. No. I think that might be the best option actually, just to pop it there. Maybe move it up a little bit, move it. Yeah, it just doesn't sit right next to that red flower, but I'll give it a go anyway, see what it looks like pinned. So I gave it some consideration and I decided to leave it there. I'm just going to slowly move this up, and this is how it's looking at the moment, and it's basically now ready for sewing. And as you can see, I added that piece as I said I would. That is where it actually finishes along here, but just to make it a little bit tougher, I've drawn a line there where you can see, oops, yeah, I've just put the line along there, nice straight line. Now that will be my guideline where to stop sewing, and it's quite a bit above the actual line, the actual what I call shoulder. It reminds me of a shoulder. So there we are now, and now that is ready for me to start slow stitching. Now I'm using a Sashiko needle. It's about 3 inches long, and I'm using my thread with six threads in it, so I'm not stranding it at all. So I always use a knot, especially as it won't be seen, and it just makes the sewing more secure. Now I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to do it at the moment I can't decide whether I'm going to do it all in one go in straight lines, but I think I'm going to do it sort of patch by patch. So I'm going to start here with our regular slow stitch, which may actually turn into Sashiko, but as you can see with this lovely long needle you can pick up quite a lot of pleats of fabric with it, and it really is a lovely needle, and it's quite a thick fabric I'm using at the moment, and the needle is just going in very, very easily. Sometimes like now it's a bit hard to pull out, but it is lovely. So this is how I'm going to start off. And as soon as I finish this or got something else to show you, I'll get back to you. So I'm just coming to the end now of the first patch, and it didn't take very long at all. This needle made it really easy to do, and I like the effect of doing it patch by patch, so I think this is how that I'm going to carry on. So this is finished now. I'm quite pleased with that. I will do it patch by patch, and I'm not sure if I'll do it over the sequins. I haven't made my mind up yet. Here's a little update of how it's looking at the moment. There's not too much to do now. I need to decide whether I'm going to stitch over the lace here and here, and whether or not I'm going to stitch across this flower and that one. I'm not too sure whether just to leave these, that one and that one, without any stitches, but I think I'll leave it till last along with these, and then I'll make my mind up. But this is how it's looking at the moment, and it's almost done. So I think the next time that you see it, it will be finished. And here's the finished piece. It's all been stitched. I did sew these down as well. I thought if I don't sew the lace bits down, there's going to be a little bit of slack there which will easily catch on something. So it's all been sewn down. Now I'm just going to turn it sideways, and you might get a better idea then of how it's looking, and I'll make it just a little bit bigger and move it about so you can see what's going on. So I've trimmed most of the raggy bits off from around the edge. Okay, I think that's worked really well, but what I have forgotten to do, I've forgotten to take out the tacking. So my next thing will be to remove the tacking. Okay, I will remove that before I machine sew. I fancy doing that. Anyway, so the tacking will come out, but the next step now, I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller before I tell you about the next step, is to cut two linings using the template. So I have two pieces of that, okay, and I have this for the back. So I had to cut out another 3 pieces. So that's the back of the bag and the lining. Now I'm not going to interface this because it is strong enough. It's a very strong, beautiful fabric, and it was hard to know whether to use this as the outside or that. This is the wrong side, and we have used this before on the wrong side, and it's just so gorgeous, but I've decided I want more colour. Okay, so I'm using this. Now if we turn this over back to the pattern, because I think this will make more sense now, I'm going to sew the right sides together here. Okay, so I'm getting the back and the front, and I will be sewing, let me move that down a little bit there, that will make more sense. So with the back and the front, I'm going to sew the shoulders together. Okay, right sides together here. So I'm going to sew across these on the front and the back. Put your right sides together so you have the wrong side facing out like this. So right sides together, right side, and you're going to sew along the top. So they've both been done. The lining's been done exactly the same way. I've joined the two pieces of lining together, and the front and the back of the bag along here. Machine sewn along here, short side to short side, and over here long side to long side, which are actually the handles. Now we're going to make like two individual bags. So I'm going to bring this over. So we now have the back of the bag on the front of the bag, right sides together. And we're going to go back to our template here. Refer back here. Right, now you can see here the line from C to D. We are going to sew from that line from C right the way around here to D. We're going to do that on the front piece, and we're also going to do that on the lining. So I'm going to go off, I'm going to pin it first, and then I'm going to just sew from there right the way round the edge and up here, leaving this part open. Okay, so now after machine sewing, all we're going to do is very carefully trim it. I have trimmed all the way around the edge and clip in at the curve, but don't get so close to the stitching that you snip the stitching, otherwise you'll end up with a great big hole or holes. So that's the lining done, and I'm just going to clip in here those and here, and it makes it so much easier to turn it into the right way. That one's still a bit thick, so I'm just going to trim that bit off. Right, so this is now looking or feeling, should I say, very exciting. So we're going to turn the lining into the right side, okay, and carefully just smooth out the seams as you go. So you'll end up with the right sides facing. Lovely. Now you're going to pop this into the bag. So, and we will have right sides facing in the bag. So right side of the bag to right side of the lining, and match these seams. So go to what I'm calling the shoulders, which are actually the handles, and match them there and pin them. Now do that both sides. So we now have an opening along here. That's fine, that's how that should be. And then we're going to do the same here, right side to right side, match up these these remind me of shoulders. Match up these shoulder seams or the handles. So that's lovely. There and that way, and if you have any overhang, that's okay, you can just trim that off. Right, now we know that the lining, I'm just going to shake that into place. Lovely. Now we know the lining is where it should be, inside, right side to right side. So when you look in that bag now, you're looking at the wrong side of the lining. So we're now going to pin around the neck. So this needs to be pinned all the way around what I'm calling the neck, or the opening to the bag. These are very dressmaking-y terms, aren't they? Neck opening and shoulder seams. But this is what it's reminding me of. Now after I have pinned all the way around here, I'm then going to machine sew all the way around the opening, front and back. So that is all sewn together now around here, all the way round. It's looking good, but having said that, we haven't pulled it into the right way yet. This lining was a real pain to sew because it frays so much. I'll be really relieved to pull that into the right way to stop this fraying. But anyway, the only thing that's left to do now is to clip in to the sides. Sorry, not the sides, but here to the curves. Once again, without breaking the stitches. And why we do this is to make sure it's not too tight when we do pull it in. If it's too tight, it spoils the complete line. And you can see that it just stretches a little bit. Right, so I'm going to pull this in now, and I'm pulling it through the gap in the top in one of the sides. So if I put my hand through there, I'll bring that over first. Doesn't really matter how you do it, just be a little bit gentle if you've got frayable fabric like I have. So just bring that through like this. Right, that needs to tuck inside. Lovely, corner to corner, and with a pin you can just pick these corners out, just bring them out. Of course these pins are far too weak to do that, so I will have to use something a bit stronger than these pins that bend. Look at this, look how that's just bent. So now this needs to be tucked in there and pinned. So we're going to pin this. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. So at the moment this is the lining poking out from what I'm calling the neck of the bag. Okay, you can see that there. So I'm going to just pin that all the way around, making sure that we get the seam on the edge. So just a couple of pins just to hold that in place, to make sure that it falls nicely. So that's been pinned now all the way around the gap here. Now if you'd like to tack it, then that's up to you. I don't think I'll tack it, although it's very thick, it might need to be tacked. And that's so we can then top stitch it. So I need to press this and then top stitch it, which I will go and do now, and then it'll be time to look at these, the gaps. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to top stitch it, or press it and then top stitch it. So this is how it's looking now after it's been top stitched and pressed all the way round. So the front, I'm going to turn it round very, very slowly. So obviously the front, didn't have to say that, did I? So there's the front, and obviously the bag. And I'm feeling really pleased with this. I think it's taking shape really nicely. I'm actually pleased that I used this side of the fabric now as well. I think that looks gorgeous. So just going to turn it over. Now the last thing to do is to turn the edges over on these gaps. You see the gaps here? So to do this, I've turned it inside out, as you can see, and I'm now going to fold back the edges of both the lining and the bag, and they should naturally fall back where the seam allowance is. So just run your fingers along there and just turn them in and pin them. Okay, making sure that they fit nicely and there's no tightness either on the front or on the lining. So pin this all the way along. Oops, it's coming out there. Just tuck that in. Now if you want to tack it, then by all means tack it. I might even tack this, depending on how it stays down. And it is fighting, actually. It's fighting to stand up and escape. So I will do this all the way round on this one and the other gap on the other side. After I've pinned all the way round, I shall make an oversew stitch from one side to the other. So from the back, front of the bag, well, it really doesn't want to stay down, does it? So from the front of the bag across, I'm going to oversew. Okay, and we've done the oversew before, so it's quite easy and it's quite a nice little task to do. And as soon as I've done that side, I will do this side as well, and then I will press it and we'll call it finished. So there you go. It's quite nice because it will be reversible, and that's nice, isn't it? That's a nice side as well. Anyway, I'm going to crack on, and here it is. It's all finished front, and I'm just going to hold this up so you can see some of the sparkles there glistening away. So that is the one that we have just made, front, back and lining inside. And to close that, all we're going to do is put the long piece through the short piece, and there is your Japanese knot bag. So now I have two. So this was, as I said, the one we've just finished there, and here is the demonstration one. Okay, so I'm not sure which one I prefer, actually. The difference between the two, if I just undo that again, the difference between the two is actually the cross stitch. The first one that I did, the demonstration one, has the cross stitch on it all the way around, and I think that really is lovely. I'm just going to make that a bit bigger so you can see the cross stitch along most of the joins. In fact, I think the cross stitch is actually on all the joins here. Yeah, it looks as if I've done the cross stitch on them all. I think I prefer that with the cross stitch, actually. Yeah, after looking at the one with the cross stitch, it seems that this one has something missing. Didn't think it needed cross stitch because there's a lot more blingy type threads on here. There's all these sequins, and then there's a lot of gold thread as well, and up here as well, and more gold thread here. And I didn't think it needed anything else, but having looked at this one now, I think I might even be able to do some cross stitch. Even though it's put together, it's so thick, I think I'll be able to do some cross stitch on the surface without actually going through to the lining. So I'm going to hang that on the wall and I'll have a think about it. But at least you have seen the two, the one with cross stitch and the one without. So I think I'll be really interested to see which one you prefer. And that's the lining in that one. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I do hope you have a go. It's just so easy and quick to do. The hardest part, well, not the hardest, but the longest part is, as you would guess, just doing all this slow stitch. Even Sashiko, some of it is like Sashiko, so there's a mixture here of, I think this one is more Sashiko than this one. There's some Sashiko there. So it's a mixture really of Sashiko, well, I was going to say slow stitch, but I'm not even sure about the slow stitch. So anyway, you choose what you think it is. Please don't say rubbish. And please have a go and put your work on Facebook so we can all see it. Okay? So I'll get back to you shortly on Facebook. Take care, everybody.